With the motor mounted back in the engine bay, it's time to refit all of the parts that Matt has prefabricated, being careful not to scratch the fresh paint.
So you're probably a little bit confused as to why the dump pipe went in first before the manifold. Basically because we did use a 3-inch dump pipe, it's very tight in here, so the dump pipe has to go in first, and then we're bolting up the manifold, and then the turbo can go on. Seems like a silly idea. Basically, once this is all in there, it's not going to come out, so there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. It obviously, servicing wise, it's never going to need to come off. You know, spark plugs are easily accessible to get to, so there's nothing wrong with doing this. Obviously everything's heat wrapped too, so it's not going to affect anything heat wise anyway. Watch the Juco, mate, watch the Juco.
First scratch.
Did you actually get it? Oh, you can't even see it. What are you talking about? There's nothing down there. Once again, a bit of a tedious job. This side's actually a little bit worse, I think, being that the engine's pushed over this side of the bay, so there's less clearance again. But Matt's holding the gasket with a bolt in the other hand and the manifold. And it actually needs to go a bit lower, bro. Yeah, there you go. This dump needs to come up a bit. Another thing I don't think Al mentioned was we changed the coil layout. We were originally going to put the coils down underneath the manifolds. That's since changed, and we're just using the standard location. We can get leads in there. As Al said, LS do have a bit of a problem with frying leads. With custom manifolds and stuff, there's so much heat there. Hence why the manifolds have been wrapped also. But there's still plenty of room there. It's not like they're going to be touching the manifolds or anything. So coils are back in the standard position, which also makes it a bit easier for Al to wire, being that they're still in the standard location, rather than having them routed down underneath on the bottom of the block there. So you good, bro? All the bolts in? One more. One more.
We've got the turbos all bolted on, it's all fitting well. We've just got to make the wastegate outlet pipes. Just want to show you what we've done here. We've got not much room here with the wastegates and the turbos and the radiator and everything. So we got our GFB gate on here, and it's really close to the radiator hose. So what we've done is built a heat shield for it. So what it is, this is the other side, it's also close. It's just some stainless steel that's been folded, and we weld it to a hose clamp, and then you can clamp it onto the hose. So it gives you an air gap, and an air gap is the best insulator for heat. So that'll deflect the radiant heat. We've got one on here as well. This also works well on turbo oil drains, if you've got the oil drain sort of coming down close to the manifold or whatever, depending on the application. You can do the same thing with that, just with a little piece of aluminium pipe or stainless pipe just sectioned, and just tack it onto your hose clamp and do your hose clamp up, and it'll sort of hold there, give you just a physical heat shield. So that works really well. So yeah, we just got to bolt these on. We've got to clock the turbo cores to the right position, because the two turbos are actually mounted differently, so one will be clocked differently. Basically just a matter of undoing all these bolts, turn it around so it's the drain's facing the bottom, do that up, and then re-clock the compressor cover, same on the other side. Then we can start making hoses in and out, water and oil. But we'll just get these done first.
We are using two GFB EX 44mm wastegates. These are an Australian-made unit that are very compact and also very efficient. With V-band entry and exit flanges, they are easy to fit and position when it comes to making up some outlet pipes. A spanner is cut down to tighten up the bolts on both the turbine and compressor housings of the turbos after both cores have been clocked to the correct position.
Everything's coming together nicely, man. Looks really good, huh?
Yeah, better than the old setup, eh?
Better than the old setup? Yeah.
The early LS1 throttle body is still mechanically controlled by a cable, so Matt takes some measurements while I grab some leftover cables from the junk pile to recycle and reuse parts from previous conversions. Once the cable is cut to size, some super glue is used to secure the firewall mount.
That's a cute band-aid you got in your finger there, Matt.
I'm a princess and I deserve it.
It's then fed back through the firewall, bolted up and tested to ensure the throttle butterfly is getting full travel. With limited room in the engine bay, Matt is mounting the battery into the corner of the boot compartment. Using 35mm insulated cable, an earth strap is easily bolted to the body of the car, and a positive lead ran from the rear of the car and up to a battery post that Matt is mounting in the corner of the engine bay. Cables then branch off from this battery post to things like the fuse box, starter motor and alternator. To ensure the radiator is going to work efficiently, Matt is making up some ducting to direct airflow to the core of the radiator. This also increases rigidity within the radiator support panel, so flares are added to the sheet metal using a set of dimple ties to further increase its strength. Next episode of the Skid Factory, we're getting closer and closer. The exhaust is made up and the fuel system is plumb.
Why are you so bald, bro?
Because I choose to shave.
You choose to shave.
Do you choose to be grey?
Yeah.
Boom!